Happy Valentine's Day. This time of year is incredibly important to a lot of romance manga couples, also then followed by White Day. As someone who is single and has too much time on her hands, I decided to instead make a video about one of my favorite office romances instead of trying to, find myself a date. If they're not D. Luke Ragenfinder, I don't want them. I don't want them. As an adult, I feel like I've grown a lot, and high school romances don't do it for me as much as they used to. If it's in a high school setting, I'm often drawn to the more comedic romances like Lovesick Ellie. And with that, my evolution as someone who prefers office romances has come full spring. They've become more enjoyable to me over the years, and I just prefer them over a lot of other things. And there's one outlier that I feel that isn't talked about enough, and that I am carrying on my shoulders. And I need you to stay with me when I tell you the title. Because the title is accurate. It's accurate. You're just gonna laugh when you hear it. And the title is Cherry Magic, 30 Years of Virginity Makes You a Wizard. Don't back out of the video just yet. I have 10 minutes. You've given me 10 minutes of your time. I need to use that time. I know, I have to do damage control after recommending it. But trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to see why I really love the series and why you should consider reading it. Alright, so let's dive into the meat and potatoes of the video. So why the literal title? Why couldn't you just call it Cherry Magic? Because that's no fun. As you may have deduced, this series is about a virgin who turns 30 and has magical powers like a wizard. But the power is not anything that you are thinking of. It's not elemental magic. It's not like flight or invisibility. No, he can read minds. And not on his own volition. Kind of shitty power, to be honest. So, who is our unlucky main character? Well, his name is Adachi, and he finds out that he's able to read minds on his 30th birthday when he goes to the convenience store and he goes to pay for his items and he accidentally brushes hands with the cashier when he's giving her, his payment. And she thinks in her head, oh my god, he's so gross. Unprovoked. She just thinks he's gross, and he didn't do anything wrong. He's like, I just want to pay for my food and my water. And that's it. It really bums him out, and honestly, I would never come out of my house again. So Adachi goes home that night, and he looks up on the internet, the only thing that he really can do, and he finds this old folk tale that when you are 30 and you are a virgin, you gain superpowers. He's not impressed with the powers, let's just say, because whenever he touches someone, the powers activate. It doesn't matter. He doesn't get a choice. He doesn't get to use them whenever he wants. He is now burdened with hearing everyone's thoughts if they touch him. Subway rides are awful. Adachi goes into work the next day and he bumps into the handsome, the ever-popular, the star, the ace, Kurosawa. And yeah, Kurosawa is the big hotshot of the office. He's a salesman, he's incredibly talented, he's got moves. All the girls want to be with him, and all the boys want to be friends with him. Wow. God, it sucks to be Adachi. All would be fine, right? Surely Kurosawa is not thinking anything, oh my god. Yeah. It sucks to be Adachi. So now Adachi is burdened with knowing these thoughts of his coworker, that his coworker is madly in love with him, and he can't grasp why. Because just like me, Adachi is an isolated introvert and does not understand literally anything about anyone ever. Anyway, the story is pretty much Adachi navigating his life with his new wizard powers and the fact that his super hot coworker has a massive crush on him. Easy. And also, Adachi needs to figure out his own feelings through the story. He's slowly falling for Kurosawa, but he needs to decide if that's because of the influence of being able to read his mind or his genuine feelings. And I love their relationship so much. So I want to take the time to talk about it in detail. Adachi and Kurosawa are a pair that just work. Kurosawa is sweet and caring, but also very accommodating and kind. He's incredibly possessive and protective of Adachi. It's not weird in any capacity. It's genuinely looking out for him because Adachi does not know what's going on half the time. He genuinely loves Adachi, and the reason that he falls for Adachi is because Adachi showed him basic human kindness and more when he didn't really even know him. It's a very simple and cute reason to fall for him. Like, Adachi just did it because he's a decent guy, and it made Kurosawa's heart skip a beat. And on the other side, Adachi is just very introverted. Almost the complete opposite of Kurosawa. He's never really stuck out, and he kind of just hunkers down and does his work, and doesn't bother anybody. After gaining his powers and meeting Kurosawa, that entire rhythm that he has gets turned upside down. Adachi begins to become more hyper-aware of Kurosawa, constantly thinking about him, and often thinking more about Kurosawa's needs than his own and, like, what he would like. He's starting to care about someone on a more deeper and romantic level, and he's just trying to adjust for that. It's an experience that he's never had before. He's someone that just doesn't have a lot of experience with romance because with his lifestyle, he's just been content and never has made an attempt to change. These powers and these emotions are all new to him. So when him and Kurosawa finally decide to go out together, it's very rewarding. I also like how they get together fairly quickly. It's not within the first couple of volumes, but you do get to see Adachi work out his feelings and see him go through the motions of falling in love. Now, the next part of this video is going to be talking about Volume 6. At the time of recording, it is the most recent released volume. So if you're interested in reading the story, you can skip to this timestamp, where I go into more detail about my personal opinion on the series rather than a play-by-play of events. We also don't have to worry too much about miscommunication. Adachi tells Kurosawa about his powers eventually, something that Kurosawa is very accepting of. He doesn't feel betrayed or lied to. Honestly, he's more embarrassed if anything, because throughout the series there are rancid thoughts going through that man's brain. It's actually really funny because once Kurosawa knows, he uses this to his advantage. Like, as he should. Adachi realizes that if his relationship with Kurosawa is going to last, he needs to be honest with him. Shortly after getting together, Adachi's boss asks him if he's interested in opening a store in Nagasaki. This is our first big hurdle of the relationship, and one that comes very soon. And Adachi doesn't want to burden this with Kurosawa, so he decides to seek the advice of a coworker instead. Again, he doesn't really want to burden their new relationship with something this big. And of course he does plan on telling Kurosawa, but he plans on telling him after he's already rejected the offer. Unfortunately, Kurosawa finds out about it the next day. The job offer, the advice, everything. Not from Adachi, his boyfriend, but from another coworker. Now, in a lot of cases, this situation can become very dramatic and very scary very fast. It puts a lot of pressure on both parties. In Cherry Magic's case, Kurosawa directly confronts Adachi that night. He wants to hear from Adachi's own words what he's thinking. He expresses to Adachi that he can't read minds like him, that Adachi needs to speak to him. And in turn, Adachi realizes that whether he likes it or not, there is that slight power imbalance because he has powers. Kurosawa doesn't yell, he doesn't berate, he doesn't attack Adachi. Instead, he informs Adachi what he should do in these situations because he's on his side, he's on his team. He knows that Adachi didn't want to hurt him or annoy him or put another burden on him. But that's what you're supposed to do in a relationship. Now, by the end of chapter 6, it's not 100% clear if Adachi actually ends up taking the transfer. However, it is clear that Adachi is just going to go to Nagasaki for a couple of days and see what the job would be about if he decides to take it. So in the same volume, we now have the biggest amount of distance between the two since becoming a couple. And I hope that I've conveyed how whipped Kurosawa is for Adachi, because I think he lasts about 1 to 2 days before he drops everything and flies to Nagasaki to see Adachi. We get a dramatic rain scene. Kurosawa is waiting outside in the rain, being dramatic, contemplating if he should ever have done this at all. And then Adachi comes out. And all he can think of is, oh my god, why are you out here? Why are you soaking wet? We need to get you to someplace warm. Oh my god, come with me. Truly the duality of a romantic relationship. We have the sweet talker, the poet, the one with all of the words, and then the mom. Now, this next scene might be my favorite scene in the series because it catches me so off guard. It pretty much makes the title null and void. They sleep together. And Adachi is the one who initiates it. That is very important. Adachi looks at Kurosawa and sees what Kurosawa is willing to do and has done for him. And he's just so overwhelmed with love from this man that in that moment, he does not care if he loses his powers. He just wants to be with Kurosawa. Now, I don't know how far they went, and I'm bringing this up because it's important. Adachi wakes up the next morning, Kurosawa by his side, which I think is the first time that's happened in the entire series. They've never literally slept together. And he's reflecting on the night before, and Kurosawa wakes up. Him and Adachi are already touching because, they're in bed together. And Adachi is expecting thoughts to pour out of Kurosawa's head, but nothing comes. Which brings Adachi's definition of virgin into question. It's a really good cliffhanger. Because it brought up a question that I think a lot of people were thinking when they started the series. What happens when him and Kurosawa become intimate? And this is only volume 6. There are 11 volumes of this series so far. It's still ongoing. Adachi has to lose his powers eventually, right? Well, it seems that volume 7 is going to answer that question. At least I hope. Now, people who read the Japanese edition already know how this plays out because, again, they have 11 volumes. But for those who can't read Japanese, are choosing to follow the English release or whatever, we're kind of in the dark right now. On average, we wait about 4 to 5 months between volumes. So the anticipation builds. It builds. This will also test the writing ability of Yu Toyota, but judging from Yu Toyota's other work, Papa and Daddy's Home Cooking, I'm sure we'll be okay. Looking at that series and knowing the two personalities of the leads are different to Kurosawa and Adachi, Yu Toyota is very capable of doing good character writing. Writing mundane daily life as something that's fun and entertaining. Now, my overall opinion of Cherry Magic that it has become one of, if not my favorite office romance. There is a side couple in this series that gets a single chapter dedicated to them at the end of each volume. It involves Adachi's friend, who is also a 30-year-old virgin wizard, and his relationship with a super cute delivery man. While the volumes are short, they are still packed full of content. While making this video, I have just wanted to shut and lock my door and just reread the entire series. And I think a big reason that I like this series is because I see myself a lot in Adachi. A lot of Adachi's worries are worries that I have, considering that we both don't have a lot of relationship experience. So again, a lot of his worries would be something that I would have in my first serious relationship. We're both introverts who pretty much wake up, go to work, come home, and rinse and repeat. So seeing someone like Kurosawa, who is extremely extroverted and very kind and outgoing, it can be very intimidating. And it's only natural to then question your self-worth and your stance in the world, wondering if this is something that should be happening to you. Kurosawa is a good partner. He's very reassuring. He does not put any pressure on Adachi to do anything in the relationship. He's very patient with him, and he does try to see situations from Adachi's point of view. It's like I said before, they're a good pair. They're like puzzle pieces that are slotted perfectly together. They both cover each other's blind spots without becoming codependent on each other. You can find Cherry Magic in most retailers, with volumes 1 to 6 being available now. And yes, you can pre-order the next couple volumes as well. It is up to volume 11 in Japanese, where you can find them in most online retailers like CD Japan or, Kinokuniya. And the series is published by Square Enix. Thank you all so much for coming to my Valentine's Day video. I was really excited to make this one. I hope that I've convinced you to consider putting Cherry Magic on your TBR or bumping it up a couple slots if it already is. Let me know in the comments if you've read Cherry Magic and your overall opinions of it.